Funny, we haven't heard that one in a while.
It's been a while, even though time goes by super fast, so it also feels like it was yesterday. But welcome back to TDOW to One World, and in our pretty free, pretty impromptu sessions of talking and sharing what has been going on. Hopefully, people can also find lots of helpful things with that because we have some international audience. So we hope it can be also helpful. And it's also a great way how we can stay in touch and keep our relationship as a great friends going. How are you, Edu?
Man, I love the way you always hype up the intro because it's absolutely true, but you said it in such a beautiful way, like beautiful wordings. Just like, yeah, stay in touch with each other and just keep learning. And if people can take something away from this, that'd be amazing.
You know,
I'm doing great, man.
sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I just got an idea going, but yeah, tell me more. How are you doing? What have you been up to? I think last time we were recording, it was like maybe 1.5 months ago, maybe even 2 months. So how are you, Edu?
I'm doing great, bro. Just transitioning through a lot of periods in my life, just learning and adapting as things go. And as far as my work, I'm an elementary school teacher. So seasons are changing and students are getting crazy. And it's just a matter of navigating those ups and downs of life. But very grateful and happy for what I do. What about you, bro?
Pretty cool. Oh, the idea that popped out in my mind before I share more is I feel like lately, since I've been using a lot of ChatGPT, my brain kind of switched into the mode when I need to say something very precisely and very accurately. And I feel it has a good impact on the way how I shape things, sentences that I want to say. Because, you have to be quite punctual and precise about what you want to get from ChatGPT. And I feel it's helpful because you realize, oh, I actually need to learn how to ask the right questions to get the right answers.
Absolutely, dude. And what I find it funny is how people, not funny, but just like interesting, is how the human brain works, and we see business in everything. And there's people that are selling like the most successful 2000 ChatGPT prompts or things like that, depending on the business and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
The thing that we just chatted like 5 minutes before we started recording, you told me, hey, you have new glasses. And now I realize, oh, we have kind of similar glasses. So I think it's a good influence that you've had on me during the past like undergrad time we spent together. Because I always had like the lame kind of nerdy glasses, like they were kind of very boring. And here I lost them, unfortunately, even though I would be probably still wearing them normally, but I couldn't find them. I was biking and my pocket where I kept them was empty once I returned home, and I couldn't find them because it was lost forever. So I got a new one here in New York. I was thinking that since I'm here, maybe I can get a new design, and I've been liking them. So now I realize why you have those, and it's pretty cool. So thanks for a good influence, Edu.
Yeah, man. Of course. And actually, something I learned is that fashion is always regressing. Like these glasses were kind of popular long time ago, and then we moved towards the glasses that don't have the frame, the ones you had. But now they're coming back, and also the style of dressing. People are going back to loose clothes and everything. So it's interesting how life is always a cycle, and we're gonna keep cycling back to the same things.
It's a loop that keeps repeating itself. Yeah, and sometimes we look in old pictures and it looks weird, but I feel like right now when I look in old pictures, I can see like us, and it's kind of scary. Like the same kind of hairstyles, same kind of glasses, and it's becoming cool again. Now the denim jeans and everything style is also like New York City is full of it, even though New York is very specific for fashion. Everything is fashion.
I wonder if, for real, man, at some point we're going to go back to dressing super formal, like tuxedos and like America was in the 1800s and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Greatest Showman, the movie?
I haven't seen that, but I think I can imagine the style of people wearing tuxedos for everything.
Yeah. Just people. Yeah, exactly. Women always wearing dresses to go to the street, like those very formal dresses, and I don't know. I just think it would be cool to regress to that at some point.
Yeah. So I think for today, like normally last time we shared kind of thing that we learned last week. So we want to kind of continue with that. And do you have anything that you would like to share at the beginning, the first thing, so we can kick it off about what you learned this week? It doesn't have to be necessarily this week because we haven't called for a long time, but the episodes will be following on top of each other. So maybe you can think about something major or interesting that has been in your mind.
I'll have to think about it because this call was very impromptu. We just went for it, right? And I love it. Unless you have something burning to say, I guess I can share something and then see where it goes. But what about you? Do you have something?
I'm trying to think of something that would be very practical, which probably is not coming right now. But I even told you 2 days ago when we called that I've been learning about Hong Kong and the history of this interesting city because I've been fascinated by that. I have a classmate who is from there and I have some good friends who are from Hong Kong and they always told me, hey, you should come to Hong Kong. You will like this city. I was like, yeah, sure. I want to come. Of course I want to come. I want to see the whole world. But I didn't really pay attention about what is happening in there, how it looks like, how it feels like. And lately I've been finding documentaries on YouTube about this city and about its history, and I found it pretty impressive and interesting because I think it's showing lots of like typical or maybe even stereotypical human traits that has been also, as you mentioned, going in a cycles, same as the fashion. So that these humanistic things happening within the history are also unfortunately being repeated. And so Hong Kong, as probably lots of our listeners knows, but maybe some of them don't, has been a British colony for a long time. And this colony was eventually returned because it was signed as a contract for 99 years. And after the time, the British were supposed to return it to Chinese people, which happened, and they returned it, but they kept a different agreement. Okay, we're going to return it back to China, but under one condition. It's going to happen one system, two countries. No, one country, two systems. One country, two systems. Yes, it's still considered as a China, but both of these countries technically have different systems politically. So there's like a freedom of speech and so many different things that are essential for the culture in Hong Kong, which are a little bit different and modified in China. But they are still functioning, and I find it super interesting how it can work in today's world and how it's all about agreements and about politics and about higher powers. And it has such a big influence on some culture or even a country.
Isn't it Hong Kong so space limited that all the buildings are really cramped and like everything is like super compact and crazy?
Yes. Even they say even more than New York, which I think is already super compact. But Hong Kong is the same thing. They have lots of mountains in Hong Kong, so you don't have much possibilities probably to build new places. And the apartments are extremely tiny. You don't have any space. Everything is crammed together, even more than New York.
Wow, bro. That's insane. Well, it kind of makes sense, because they had to go through all of these crazy things and changes, and they cannot expand, and they had to really live with what they had, and it kind of just stuck like that, Makes sense. Wow. Well, I think I can share what I learned, and it's more like a life lesson.
Okay.
I started ordering food using this system called HelloFresh. I was very skeptic, and not gonna lie, I like it because I was tired of eating the same food. Because every single week I just had, my usual chicken breast with rice and my spaghetti with meatballs and whatever, like the things I know how to cook. So I got tired of it. And then I told myself, oh man, I just want to try a different flavor. So I ordered the HelloFresh, and it comes with all the ingredients you need and the recipes. But what is interesting is that they don't provide you things like butter or maybe oil or salt and pepper. So it's kind of like you have the freedom to kind of tweak it, which makes perfect sense from their marketing perspective. But what I learned is that when I was doing pasta, they asked me to reserve some of the pasta water. And I was like, oh, okay. Another day I was doing mashed potatoes, and the receipt also said you should reserve some of the water. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why should you reserve some of the water? Another day I was cooking on the frying pan, and I read like, okay, use the same frying pan you have used to start making a sauce. And I was like, okay, but why? It's just like, just for a practicality, just to save you time. And apparently, the starch water from pasta, because when pasta boils or when potatoes boils, it releases a starch. And that makes pasta sauce creamier or better. And that makes potatoes creamier and better. And I did not know that. And also, there's this term when you are cooking in your cast iron, deglaze the pan. And apparently to deglaze the pan, the deglaze is when you kind of add water or wine or juice or something to scrap all the food remnants that is there to give it more flavor. And every single time I used a new frying pan. After I was done using that one, I put it aside and I used a new one. Or when I was doing pasta, I always added milk instead of that pasta water. And I think the realization I had is that, man, so many times the work that we do has a byproduct. The byproduct of making the delicious steak was all of that crust that stays in the frying pan. And we just get rid of that byproduct because we like to complicate ourselves. I love to complicate myself. But much of the work you do has a byproduct, and you can use that to kind of keep getting the momentum on what you need in life, So many times I think I'm doing this thing in my life, and if I change it, I have to start completely from zero. But that's not the case. You leave a certain byproduct, and everything you do is going to be beneficial because you are setting the foundation for something else. And it's kind of mind-blowing how humbling is to learn from something as subtle as food. You know what I'm saying?
I find it super cool. This is such an amazing comparison and analogy that is like worth of like philosophical, books. I like it because when you cook something and you prepare, the essence of the flavor gets condensed into these small pieces, right? But if you add on top of that, then all the flavor, all the essence will be there, and it will boost whatever is coming next, right? So that's such a cool, I never thought about it, like using it for life. When you do something, you spend lots of energy on, and then you return, and then you start over, rather than continuing on what you have built before and what you learned before and keep building this foundation, which I think is great. Even like for us musicians, right? When we practice, and we finish practicing and come next day and start practicing from the beginning again. But we have already done that, so we can move on, we can keep like just remind ourselves, okay, what did we do yesterday? Why don't we continue in this direction because it was going this way last time? This is wow. I will write it down after we finish this call because I think it's a cool thought.
Yeah, bro. Another thought is like you just said as a musician, but how many things do you learn from playing a piece? It's not like the common belief is that you practice one piece and you move on to the next one and you move on to the next one. But every piece gives you a skill or reminds you of something, When I was in my senior recital, I was practicing this crazy piece full of chromatic thing. I play saxophone, by the way. So I was just playing this crazy piece full of chromatic scales and crazy stuff like that. And then I started relearning my jazz scales, and it was so much easier to play this crazy jazz scales like the whole diminished or like the whole half scale, like octatonic scales or things like that, because I had that foundation from my repertoire that I did.
Amazing.
Yeah, I never thought about it, and just the thought of studying jazz again was like, it was giving me a headache because I was like, oh man, I focused in classical music for so long and now I have to do jazz. But the classical music had its benefits and it was easier to assimilate jazz.
Absolutely. Wow. Great. I like how it's keeping rotating in these topics as well. Yeah, and each piece can give you different realization. It doesn't have to be necessarily technical. It can be also musical or the way of performing or way of sharing a story you want to tell through the music, through this amazing tool of this language, musical language that you can share with others. And yeah, using it as a learning tool, perfect, and building up on the foundation. I think many times it's about how intentional it is, because many times we do something on like autopilot and we don't think about what's happening, but just maybe slowing down and realizing, oh, okay, I'm playing this. Okay, why is it getting difficult? Oh, because this one is not working. Maybe I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just playing it to be done with that. So this is cool because I'm currently practicing one complicated piece and I'm struggling about how to practice it most efficiently, because of course the time is the biggest problem here. It's hard to find extra time, so I'm trying to really practice intentionally. But it's hard because you really need to slow down and think about what do you do. When on the other hand, if I would have 5 hours every day, I would just go through several times. Yeah, okay, next one. But now I really have to use my brain, which eventually I think is helping my interpretation.
Wow, for sure, bro. And it's kind of interesting. Like, I love you said a word, intentional. Have you ever caught yourself in the middle of a conversation and decided to be intentional? Let's say you and I are talking right now and it feels like we're in autopilot, but like, how about we are very intentional with what we say and come fully present in the moment? It's kind of crazy to think about it, and how we just go in life in autopilot, and we need to be a little bit more intentional to actually be more efficient with the time and the results we're trying to get. Wow, this took such an unexpected philosophical turn, bro.
Cool. I loved it. And it reminds me of a concept that my friend shared with me the other time. I have a great friend from India. You also know him. You met him, K. Joe. And he was showing card tricks because he's a magician to one kid. I think this kid was of one of his professors. And he's like, oh, could you show magic to my kids? Like, yeah, of course. And then he went there to show the magic to this kid. And he said, oh my gosh, I found my inner child. This kid was completely pure, like no bias, nothing on him. Like if he liked it, he said, oh, I love it. If he didn't like it, he's like, oh, I go away. I don't want to see it. And he was just so pure. It's like, I realized like how much of a baggage and how much of these barriers and layers we keep adding on ourselves just to keep putting up with ourselves, just to be presentable, just to always be out there available for people and playing this crazy game, when on the other hand this kid was just completely pure, completely open and amazing. So yeah, being intentional, maybe trying to discover our inner child again, so we can be shining, we can be honest, and we can enjoy and explore and be curious and absorb everything like a sponge, and hopefully filter out the unnecessary.
Yeah, man, it's kind of sad, so many times I find myself doing this too, but I go to a restaurant and I got the advice from some friends, you should look around and like do people watching. I've never done it, to be honest, because I just never done it. But when you look around, you just see some faces that are really sad, really tired, and I look at myself in the mirror sometimes and I'm like, oh crap, I look like that. I look like sad, I look tired, I look like I'm done, I look like I'm just on a burden. And that's a nice reminder also to be more intentional and to start fighting these notions that the world has been imposing on us, and more than the world, the society we live in right now. It's like this super go, never stop society.
Yes. Wow. We can just keep on adding, because it goes through amazing paths. But I think many times in the best, it's great to stop so you can save the energy or the momentum for next time. And as you said,
absolutely,
we're trying to be intentional. We can be intentional about this. And we said, okay, we're going to record for a couple of minutes to share these thoughts and see where it goes. And I think I'm extremely happy and surprised where it went and how it impacted my mood right now, because I was a little bit tired. It's Saturday and it's been a long week and it hasn't been over yet at all. But now it gave me lots of hope and lots of excitement again, which eventually I think is great to realize. But the human interactions, when you have friends with you, when you can be fortunate to have good friends around you, and when you can share something, I think eventually it gives you so much energy back. So thank you thank you for the energy that you gave me, and I really appreciate this.
Of course, man, of course. And here's my challenge for you this week.
Ooh.
Try to, in the middle of doing something, whenever you realize it, maybe you're riding your bicycle, maybe you're jogging, maybe you're in the gym, maybe you're cooking. Try to see, like, I hope the little light bulb turns on top of your head, and you're like, oh man, I need to be intentional and try to see what I'm learning from what I'm doing right now. Like, it'll be fun if you can share what you learned next time we meet on that intentional moment of illumination.
Awesome. I like this challenge and I greatly accept it.
Sure, bro. As usual, it's phenomenal talking with you, man.
It was great. Thank you so much for this time and hope to see you soon. And thank you for all our listeners. Let us know what has been up with you, what has been in your mind, what do you think is a good thing to keep reminding ourselves to keep going in the best possible direction. And it's crazy when you shared stories about restaurants and about ordering food. Seems like the American lifestyle has been impacting us truly. So I hope everyone is staying safe and having a good time, and see you again.
Bye-bye.